Nope. Got him. Got him.
Reloaded. Fishing with Joe Bucher Reloaded is brought to you by these fine sponsors.
This is a really unique episode because this is the maiden episode and the very first fish ever filmed on a Slopmaster. So, think back of all the fish that were caught on Slopmasters, and all the Slopmasters have now been sold, and all the spinnerbaits that are made for Muskies. This was the first one. And it's really interesting. What you don't know about, the insider thing on this whole thing is that lure actually sat in my box. That mold was made years before we ever introduced this lure. And it was kind of being talked out of it by a friend not to do it. And for various reasons. But, the long and the short of it is, it ended up being a lure and a technique that is just incredible. I don't need to explain more about the lure because that'll be explained in this video, because I really break it down pretty good. And what you want to gather from this whole thing is that single hook spinner baits, that are so good for bass and pike, they catch muskies, and they shine on muskies, when the treble hook lures don't produce. And one of those tools of the trade that you really need to add to your tackle box, to your toolbox, that you may not be using is a single hook spinnerbait. And I talk about big spinnerbaits versus small spinnerbaits in this episode. So I'll leave that for this episode and the discussion. But this is the debut of the Slopmaster. Hey folks, welcome to our musky segment. We're going to fish some slop today. We're going to fish heavy cabbage weed clumps, some milfoil, lily pads, grass. What we're going to fish them with is a new spinnerbait that I've been messing around with. I call it the Slopmaster. You can see it's got a flat head, a flat hydroplaning head, and the wire, instead of the wire bending off like some spinnerbaits do on an angle, this comes straight off to the line tie. What that does is it enables that spinnerbait to actually skim. You can actually buzz this with this big blade and make it come right across the surface, and this flat head will actually skim right across emergent weeds, and then as soon as you stop the speed or drop the speed, it'll drop back in the water and start spinning. And because there's no angle here, there's nothing to collect on this spot. That's what makes this such a good bait for slop fishing. We're going to tie this direct with no leader. Leader, you don't need a wire leader in this situation because the spinnerbait itself is a wire leader. Make sure the hook is extra sharp. Make sure you sharpen it. I just tie an overhand Palomar knot here by doubling the line, sticking it through, and then back over the lure. You see I've also got a split ring on the front here, super split ring. I like a split ring on my spinnerbaits. It keeps them a little looser. The knots tied to them better on this heavy wire. And I'm using 65-pound test strand super braid, a 7.5 foot medium. Boy, this stuff cuts really. You can see that. I wonder if you do need a wire leader with this stuff. This stuff is so hard to cut. It's so tough. You see I've got a number 9 Colorado on here. Number 8s and number 9 Colorados I like for this style of fishing because along with the hydroplaning head here, this creates a tremendous amount of lift. So when you throw it out and engage the reel, you're gonna be right on top right away. You're not gonna have to worry about gunning the reel to get it on top. And also see how small profile the lure is? One of the things I think the musky guys are doing wrong with their spinnerbait fishing, and the reason they're not more successful is majority of musky spinnerbaits sold today are these huge big profile spinnerbaits. They're good for big fish under the right conditions and just big fish. You're not going to get the numbers on them that you will on a bait like this. The other thing I do with this bait is I keep it a small profile like this. I like the small profile bait because it's easier to cast and it's easier to set the hook on. It's easier to fish all day. I fish a big grub on it. And with this nickel blade like this, I like to fish a white or like a black smoke. This is actually a smoke silver glitter.
And all I'm going to do is rig this grub, this big grub here, on, come out on the seam. And right before it comes to the top there, I'm going to put some super glue on it. You got to be careful when you use this stuff so you don't super glue yourself to the, I usually tip it upside down so that I get the plastic all loaded with the glue, and then push it up against the front end like that. Leave it sit a few seconds. There is your slop bait. You can fish this thing in the thickest stuff. I mean, it's this. You fish this where the rabbits and the beagles won't go, and you will be amazed at how well it fishes through this stuff. The key, the secret is the inline design, short inline design, and the flat head and the big blade. The combination here, a short profile bait, not all of these big wires and all of these blades and stuff on it. That's what makes the bait go through the slop right there. All right, and the single hook. If you're not fishing a single hook, it's not going to happen because treble hooks won't make it through the garbage. Here, there's several colors I've done well with. Straight chartreuse and black chartreuse, like this here, and then this black with this chrome. This in darker water, this where you have a little water clarity. This has been a dynamite bait. All right, we're ready to roll. And again, 7.5 foot rod, 7 to 7.5 foot, medium heavy, small bait cast, at least 50-pound test super line. This is 65-pound test strand super braid. And again, tied direct. Get rid of the wire leaders. Wire leaders are going to collect grass and scum and garbage. And this, the wire on the spinner bait will act as your wire leader. All right, let's go get one. Folks, you see that patch of weeds right there? Now see, if a muskie's sitting in that patch of weeds, how are you going to throw a treble hook lure in there? You can't do it. See? You have to fish the edge. But with this bait, see, I can go right through it, drop it on the other side and crank it. Fantastic. You know, that enables you to fish so tight to cover. This is a great bait to fish, by the way, behind somebody. If you're the second guy in the boat, this is the bait to fish, because if a guy's fishing a surface bait or a jerk bait or whatever, he's not going to be able to get that tight. See, I can fish right through the middle of this patch with this bait. See, all I have to do is gun it a little bit to get that blade to lift it on the surface, and that hydroplaning head will walk it right over everything. Everything. If you see a submergent weed, like I've got right in front of me here, you can slow it down and actually let the bait walk itself right through the weeds instead of trying to keep it over top. So you're bumping and ticking those weeds. You can do such a better job with this style of bait. Single hook baits in general have been, you know, kind of almost like a no-no in musky fishing. A lot of musky fishermen just have no confidence in them. You know, there's a handful of guys that fish spinnerbaits, and I mean it's probably less than 2%, maybe less than 1%. And there's a few guys who fish jigs for muskies. And those are single hook lures as well. There is a place for the single hook lure. The single hook lure really shines in these weedy, sloppy spots. There's a cabbage bed right in front of me. Look at that. I can throw it right in the middle of that. See, what I've found is that these fish I've been fishing for here, they're just so tight to cover. I can't get them any other way. I've been trying to get these fish on other baits, and they're just laying so tight in the stuff that I can't get them out of there. Got to get a bait right inside. That's where the fish are. And the beauty of the single hook spinnerbait style lure like this is you don't have to avoid cover. You don't have to fish around the cover. You can fish right through it. You don't have to hurry up when you fish a spot like that to keep it from getting fouled. You can slow it down and really slowly fish it right through where right through the spot where the fish is. you go. Gotcha. 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 Got him hooked right in the roof of the mouth. The reason I'm pulling on him so much, folks, is I don't want to lose him because I'm single hooking him here, and I got him right in the snout. Probably got him hooked better than I think I do, but I don't want to find out. Hooked like 6 pike. I'm just going to take him real quick here. No, no. Everything was going just fine. There he goes. Gotcha. Gotcha. Just testing a brand new prototype of a spinnerbait that you're probably going to be able to buy by the time you watch this. And if not, it'll be available soon enough. I call it a Slopmaster. I've been working on this little spinnerbait for years. In fact, this mold is actually a very old one, but I've done some retooling on it and some fine tuning on it, and it's catching fish in this heavy cabbage and milfoil slop, and you just saw it right there. We'll show you what it looks like here in a second when we pull this fish out. Oh, he's hooked solid. Major solid. Take it easy here, buddy. See, single hook spinnerbaits are the key to fishing in cover. You're gonna fish, when fish are laying tight to cover, treble hook lures will not cut it, folks. You've gotta get in the cover where the fish are. You gotta dig out a single hook spinnerbait and throw it in there where the beagles will go, right in the rabbit patch. Beautiful fish, isn't it? Get yourself a single hook spinnerbait. Get in the slop, the Slopmaster. Okay, back with you. Okay, back in with you.